How I set my method feeder up, first of all, I tie a length of double line. All I do is tie a spider hitch knot there, so I've got a loop about 2 foot long. So the method, which is an inline method, which means it runs up the line when I catch a fish, has got double line to run on, so it doesn't compromise the individual strength of the line. It's 8 pound breaking strain, so it shouldn't do anyway. Now on that double line, I've got a connector here, and this connects just like at the top of a pole, just there. There's a little hook that the loop in that double line goes behind. Close it up, and it clicks into position, and that then fits into the bottom of the method feeder. So there's a little bit of resistance when a fish takes, but it is in line. So if a fish pulls and the line breaks, that will pull out the feeder. And I use ready tied hooks these days. They're so good. And with these sort of push stops or bait stops or whatever it is you want to call them, already tied. That's a perfectly tied hair rig with the bait stop on the end, or the push stop. That make really certain that that goes home properly in that slot. Close it up again, and that will click once again into position, and that is an absolutely secure setting. Pull that into the bottom of the feeder and you're ready to cast. Now what I've done, I've already clipped up, but I'm not going to fish clipped up because there's some big carp in this lake and I don't want them ripping me off. I'm not fishing tight to the island, I'm fishing alongside the island, so I'm going to cast out to my clip, and that's easy to do. Just cast, hold the rod back here, and then follow the feeder to the water when you feel it hit the clip. Now, rather than fish to the clip, as I said, which can be slightly compromising when you've got big fish, what I do is I tie a knot at the end of the line using marker braid. Just cut off a bit of marker gum. Let's get it right, marker gum. And this is elasticated power gum. It stretches. And all you do, very simple, make it into a loop, put it against your line, and put one end through the loop and across the line 5 times. Once, twice, 3, 4, 5. Now, moisten it like you do with all knots. Pull the ends slowly, snug it up nice and tight, and then pull it tight, okay? Now the important part, if you cut that short, that will catch in the reel and stop you casting. So what you do, get your scissors. We're going to cut that so there's at least 1 inch either side. That might sound ridiculous, but there's 2 reasons. One, that won't catch on the reel because these bits are nice and flexible. They won't catch going through the rod guides because they're nice and flexible, but you'll hear it going through the rod guides, and that's what's important. Because I'm not going to be clipped up, when I hear it going through the rod guides, I know I'm in the right place, put my finger on the spool, lower the feeder into the water, rod on the rest, wait for it to go round. Now we've got to do is load the feeder up with ground bait, put something on the hair and get fishing. Did you hear that going through the guides? Look at that, it's stopped right by the top guide, exactly where you want it. What you can do is count the turns when you wind in. I don't bother because I've got that marker on the line, so I never bother with counting the turns because that marker isn't going to move. If I break off, then it's a good idea to count them, so maybe next time when I wind in I'll count them. Going to put a bit of meat on now, just as a change. Corn first cast, just keep changing until you find something they like. Mini boilies work very, very well for this. Brilliant method for mini boilies. Pink is a good colour, yellow's a good colour. White can be outstanding sometimes. I've even used little pop-ups as well, and if I use a pop-up, I just put a number 8 shot or 2 an inch from the pop-up, so it sits that inch off the bottom. That can work really well some days. Other days they want the bait more on the bottom. If I was casting tight to an island or a snag, then I would clip up, and I might even use heavier tackle, because obviously you can't give the fish any line when it's clipped up, but if you're fishing tight to the island or tight to a far bank, they don't need any line anyway. They're not going to bump their heads as they go into the bank, so they're going to kite sideways. And once a fish is moving sideways, you can generally keep it moving sideways. Always keep the rod low when you're playing fish on the method. Keeps the fish closer to the surface, away from any snags or obstructions there might be on the bottom. The higher you lift your rod, the deeper the fish will dive down. The lower you keep it, the nearer to the surface they'll be. This is a 25 gram method feeder, so it's not that heavy, but it's heavy enough so it won't be dislodged as the line sinks, or if it falls off the slope of the island, it will sit there nice and steadily. Well, it's a classic little mirror carp, little linear apple slice scales, typical of the fish in this farm reservoir. Certainly found the feed now. Maybe it's a combine harvester that's wound them up. See there, the feeder flew up the line there. And that's when you can lose the fish. As it goes back down, it can just knock against the connector and just fraction of a second slacken that hook length and they can be off. That's why it's important to have that extra bit of line out and that softer rod. Again, nailed right in the bottom lip. And there, a lovely, lean, wildy looking common. Now you can see why on the day that method is the method. For more great features from the Tight Line Show, subscribe to the Sky Sports YouTube channel by clicking here. Have a cast here.